Actually, for this season 3, I was trying to get my propane tank hooked up to a place in Wyoming, and I was standing out in the freezing weather and the wind with a propane guy, and my phone rang, and it was the whole production crew opening discussions about what should be season 3.
Hi, Lee. My name is Thomas Alan Ritchson. I'm with OneTakeNews. How are you doing today?
Doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great. I've seen the first 6 episodes of season 3, and I'm absolutely in love with it. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today.
Yeah, real pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you. My first question, I'm actually just genuinely curious about this for you as an author. Whenever they're doing a new season of Reacher, I'm curious, do they come to you? Do they tell you what book they're doing advanced? And is it like, do you provide any input? Or are there any books that are off limits? I'm really curious about how that process works, actually.
Well, it's generally very sort of informal discussion. I remember one time I was actually for this season 3, I was trying to get my propane tank hooked up to a place in Wyoming, and I was standing out in the freezing weather and the wind with a propane guy, and my phone rang, and it was the whole production crew opening discussions about what should be season 3. And it was a strange process. We had this smorgasbord of more than 20 books to choose from, and which one was going to be the right choice. Very free form, no real theory behind it. But other than we had felt a responsibility in season 1 to introduce the character emotionally in terms of his emotional roots, and season 2 to build on that, which then we felt gave us the permission to do whatever we wanted for season 3. And so we picked Persuader for 2 reasons. One, it has a killer opening with a big reveal, and then it launches Reacher as the typical Reacher, alone, all up by himself with no help in a dangerous situation, the loner Reacher. So we picked that one on that basis. The off-limit books, I guess they're going to be reluctant to do the 2 that formed the basis for the feature films that we did previously. Mm-hmm. And of course, it's a bit of a fantasy to say, I mean, we're nearly 30 books in. This year in the fall will be the 30th book. I would love it to run for 30 years with every book covered, but that's not likely. So which books are available for cannibalizing? Because we can take scenes out of certain books and move them into others. So it's a mysterious art, but surprisingly casual, to be honest.
That's really wonderful to hear, because I know a lot of authors, when their stuff is adapted, it doesn't really work out in their favor. They don't have a lot of input. So I'm really happy to hear that you have a team that really loves and cares about these stories. And that kind of leads into my next question. I noticed this, especially, I've actually read some of the books. So when I watched the first season and I was reading The Killing Floor at the same time, I noticed how faithful it was. And the same thing here with Persuasion, like even to the point where some lines are just ripped straight out of the book. As an author, how great is it to see your stories so well taken care of and brought to life in such a beautiful way?
Well, it means a lot, and but you get to that point by choosing very carefully at the beginning. There's an old saying that I operate by: you go where the love is. And there were a bunch of people competing for the TV rights for Reacher, and we didn't necessarily look at who was offering the most money. We looked at the people who cared the most, who loved it the most, who were basically fans. It's a strange duality. This is a huge operation, hundreds and hundreds of people, millions of dollars, everybody working hard for months. It's a real huge process, but fundamentally they're doing it because they love the books. And you pick the people who love them the best. And then if you do that correctly at the beginning, then you're safe forever, because they're guarding it even more than I would guard it.
Yeah, definitely. And it's going to be shown to a much wider audience, so I definitely get where you're coming from. Something I love about this season, especially in the 4th episode, I think, yes, the 4th episode, we see such a vulnerable side of Reacher, something we've seen before, but I believe, honestly, not to this extent in terms of how he takes action afterwards. What is it about Alan when you see him in that scene that's just incredible to see, like how he brings his character to life as an author? What's it like to see him take this very powerful scene and perform it in a way that's just as descriptive as the books?
Well, a really good actor does a kind of alchemy process where I know that Alan reads the books very, very carefully. He's read them all, and he rereads them constantly, and he has the kind of acting intelligence that can identify the emotion in the words and then produce it in his face. And to me, that is a weird talent. It's not one that I've got. It's not one that many people have got. But actors can do that. And so it's really about mining the books for the emotional cues and then having the ability to, with the tiniest motion, the tiniest look on his face, he can reproduce that in a way that's intelligible to the audience. Very subtle skill, and it really reinforces to me, I know the scene you mean, and it totally reinforced that all those years ago we picked the right actor. When we did that casting, it was crucial that we got the right guy, and I think we absolutely did.
Oh, you did, and especially in like that episode, it's very powerful. Like just from the face, like you said, there's so much said with just the facial emotion. No words are spoken, and I think it's incredible. And to follow up on that, Reacher's such a layered character, super, so much depth to him. I'm curious, out of all of his incredible personality traits or just quirks, which of those have you been most excited to see the writers and Alan and the whole production team in general embody as the seasons have gone on?
I think the most impressive thing is the way they instinctively understood that even though Reacher is a super tough guy, I mean, brutal if he needs to be, he is basically not proactively aggressive. He doesn't go around looking for trouble. He just is who he is. He projects ultimate self-confidence. He doesn't threaten people. He doesn't say, "Don't mess with me." He just stands there, and everybody understands they shouldn't mess with him just by the way he looks. And again, that's a very subtle thing to do. And we nailed it right in the first season, really, with the first shot, which was
Very much so.
that first sequence in season one. I think it ran 8 minutes without any dialogue from Reacher. It was just the way he looked. And that was crucial to me that Alan got that right, and he did effortlessly. So I'm so happy to have him on board, and I'm happy to have him leading the show, because that kind of commitment and that kind of attitude from the main star then really mandates the same thing from the whole supporting cast, which is really why it works so well. He's like an on-field captain that produces the best out of everybody.
Wholeheartedly agree. And just my last question before they kick me out of here. I'm really curious, is there any scene from the book that you have gained a bigger appreciation for now that you've seen it brought to life in live action? For whatever reason it was, maybe you didn't like it, or maybe it wasn't just fully something you were happy with when you wrote it, but is there a scene that you've gained a bigger appreciation for this season now that they've adapted it into live action?
A lot of them, to be honest. A lot of the scenes were really hard to adapt, I felt, but the skill of the writers in particular brought it to the screen in a way that not only reproduced what I had in mind, but actually made it better, which is a double-edged sword for a book writer, because you think, damn, they're doing this better than I did it in the first place, which is a bit annoying, but it's really gratifying to see it.
Love that. Look, they're kicking me out of here, so I just want to say again, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I love this show. I'm so excited for season 4. And as someone who's actually from Toronto, it's really cool to see my city in this show for 3 straight seasons. It's incredible.
Yeah, you bet. Toronto has been really good to us. We love working there.
And I love seeing it in the show. So I hope you guys continue to make 30 seasons, adapt all the books eventually. Again, thank you for sharing your time with me and fitting me into your schedule. This is such an honor.
Thanks for the coverage. We appreciate it.